Ito.
And
Action.
come on. Oh my God.
Action. Tono.
You're making weird noises and you're about to go live and people can be like, it's weird ladies making weird noises. Oh, and we're live. Wait,
There we go. I got my notification.
are we on? Okay, we're
Yeah.
on.
We are
Okay. Oh my
delayed.
God. This only took what 5,000 years? Is about as long as our calendar, our Jewish calendar exists. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to my friend Esther Lamb.
Can check.
She is what I like to call a mover and shaker in the. You know what? Let me turn off the thing. Mover and shaker in the Jewish community. She worked for an organization called Russian American Jewish Experience as a director. She also worked for UJA. I guess it was a what? What was the title over there?
I was the director of the well no I was like head of development, yeah, for the ELP
Okay.
Russian leadership.
So you were basically bringing kind of a more spiritual and traditional spin or face or presence to an organization that's a little bit UJA, which is a little bit more kind of like secular.
It's egalitarian. I
Yeah.
mean, their purpose is they support everybody.
Yeah.
They give money to everybody. In a way, it's like a melting pot, right? Because they do Orthodox, conservative, and
Jewish federations in North America, stuff like that. But also Orthodox. So you were doing events.
Yes.
So you kind of have seen, my friend Esther has seen kind of the kishkas of the Jewish world in America and also, so to speak, a little bit in Israel, having traveled in Israel.
And living there.
And living there a little bit and studying there and learning there. So today I want to talk to you about, we've been having a lot of discussions with our friends and also between each other about just the idea of Aliyah. As you know, I made Aliyah twice. Now I just did my 2.0 in January, thank God. I'm just here visiting New York, and you expressed to me, I don't know if it's a public thing, but I guess you make it public, but I don't know if I'm allowed to announce it in public, but I guess I'm doing it now. So you expressed to me a desire to make Aliyah at some point. You told me certain stages of what you're
process
doing towards that, yeah. But which, obviously the stuff is not easy. There's a lot of moving parts. And, we were just talking to, we were hanging out at your house the other day and we were talking to a mutual friend. It's a married couple. And it's funny because the wife has been ready for a while and she now finally kind of like made the initiative. She's like, okay, we're moving. And actually it's funny because she's been talking to our friend Nachliel's cousin in Rehovot.
Oh, really?
Like, I know her. Yeah, because why? Because they're both physicians' assistants. And
wait, Adina is Nachliel.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's one of my life coaches.
So listen to me very carefully. So physicians' assistants, they're both physicians, PAs, and that position, that occupation does not exist in Israel. And when I was talking to Adina, and I'm like, so what are you going to do? She's like, well, maybe I'll just try to create it. Meaning I'll just try to put myself into a niche and just kind of foment this new thing that doesn't really exist, which is kind of like, because in America, why does it exist? Because, obviously doctors, it's kind of like all the, nurses are taking, and PAs are taking the place of what doctors used to do, which is more kind of bedside manner or whatever. So, but in Israel, it doesn't exist because doctors actually in Israel, from what I've seen, have more bedside manner. You see them more than you do in America, especially the ones that are doing procedures.
Okay, so she's talking to her.
Talking to her. No, it's just funny how it's a small world, and then there's people
very small world.
Recently made Aliyah, people who are trying to make, and then like her husband, our friend's husband, who, he's a brilliant, in my opinion, the guy he just told me that he's the MBA, which I didn't know, that he's he's a good Hazan, a cantor, and he's just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. So I feel like I'm like listening to people in the community who are thinking about Aliyah. And the things that stop them from proceeding are either like real, let's say, parnasa issues, like income. What am I going to do over there? How am I going to make money? Or sometimes it goes even to like their own personal perception. You talk about perspectives of themselves, meaning I'm not this, I'm not that. What am I, And it's funny because he said, this guy, I'm not going to say his name, he said, I'm, at least what he thinks of himself, I'm mediocre at everything. And it's funny because my friend Nachliel recently said that our sages explained that the land of Israel demands from you, it cannot stand mediocrity. You have to fight and fight. Once you get there, you have to fight and fight and fight. and be, so to speak, what do they say in the army? All you can be. And that's really the thing. So I wanted to get your take on it in terms of like what you've seen, I guess, in the American Jewish community in the frum world, because I think you've seen more of it than I have, even though I've seen a lot or enough.
I think we've seen, which is why we like overlap. I think we've seen similar, just from different vantage points. We've been in similar communities, right? I think if I just come from the standpoint of like that I worked there professionally, so so let's unpack it. So we said that there's this couple, and now finish what you wanted to say. Now that they're in the planning process of making Aliyah, and really the wife is driving this, where the husband is kind of like he has no choice because
listen, we all have a choice. At the end of the day, he could, whatever.
Listen, smart. I think like it's funny because this was mentioned.
I'm not married.
Right, it's okay. But I feel like you already know this from like your mom and your sister and me and all the experiences and this and that. I think you're so prepped. Your wife is gonna be so excited. So God willing, we're all gonna be dancing at C's wedding in Israel very, very soon. So I think, and it's funny because so this couple, my friend, who are also in the process of making Aliyah, she said that she mentioned the parsha where Abraham doesn't want to expel Ishmael because he's also his son. And God says, listen to Sarah, and Sarah has an intuitive sense that like there will be harm to Yitzhak, right? That there will be spiritual and physical harm. And so, and God says, listen to Sarah. And he, and she proves to be correct. By the way, you're really dark. I don't know if you have like a table lamp or something.
This is better? I'm just
a little bit.
I'm trying to figure out the lighting.
Right. So, or when I'm watching you on my phone live, it's a little better, but I see you very dark. But so we'll just wait to get the logistical stuff going.
This is like the amateur
amateur night.
Is this better?
No. So yeah, sort of. Half of your face is illuminated.
I just look like a
table lamp.
It's like a nightclub. It's like a strobe light. It takes us back to our days. Anyway.
Right. Take us back to our days. So okay, so to answer your question, so so I think in this situation, this couple who they've, they have their own different reasons why should we be making Aliyah? So I feel now, people are more willing to listen to this, maybe for the wrong reason, but still the same, they're more open. Wrong reason being that I feel that Jews, for the first time ever in America, feel some sort of threat. Now, again, it really depends which community you're in, because I'm in the suburbs. Thank God, we're very lucky. I mean, we were in Brooklyn, but right now we're in the suburbs. And I was talking to my sister-in-law. She's like, well, do you feel threatened? I said, no, I don't. I really don't. I wouldn't even know there's any riots or anything happening if I didn't turn on the news. And if I didn't go shop in supermarkets with people having masks on, I wouldn't be able, to tell there's something happening. With that said, I feel that, yes, I do feel there is a threat, because obviously I am on social media and I am watching the news and I am following all the stuff, and I was in Manhattan and I saw certain things. And again, not minimizing the peaceful protesters. And I think America had it coming. Everything comes from Hashem. So rather than arguing,
Rabbi Kessin talked about it. There has to be like a purification before Mashiach, before all this stuff.
Right. I heard
there has to be like a tikkun done by America for. He actually says, he's like, because you don't just. He actually talks about the founding fathers. The founding fathers, he says, were amazing, but what did they do? He's like, you can't just kidnap people from another country. They kidnapped people. They took slaves. You can't just do that. That's actually an avera in the Torah, because the Torah talks about slavery and this and that, but at the same time, the kidnapping thing is not. There's a big punishment for that.
100%, and also even we have it. It's brilliant. The Torah is brilliant. We had servants, you could call them, because even when we say right, even when we say kiddush, on the day of rest for us for Shabbos, it says that basically when we say it on Saturday. warning that like everyone has rest, whether it's the stranger in your house, you serve everyone. You doesn't matter. Your animals, even you're not working your animals.
Yeah.
You know, it's to that extent. And we have something called the Jubilee year. So the 50th year, we're supposed to, you know, relinquish control of our indentured servants and all that stuff. And there's ways, there's ethical ways to treat, you know, and this we know it just wasn't happening, and it's a very dark spot, you know, on America's like history. But again, like
Yeah.
I feel that this like it's like like not rapture, but it's like erupted, like a volcano erupted.
Rapture's
This
a
has rapture something else, right?
That's from the
So
Christian literature.
right, it's a very right, but we are in a Christian country, so hey, you know, that came to mind. So I feel like, you know, it's something, it was like the big elephant in the room. And granted, you know, there was a black president, black Supreme Court justices, and all that stuff. I spoke to our friend today, Dennis Kuturetsky, I told you, and Benetton, who's like, for me, he's like an amazing artist. He's Jamaican, whatever. They did a song for Rage before. Anyway, and he was like, he really made me see things that I cannot see because I am not of color. Okay. I am not, you know, I have my own stuff. We as the Jews, we have our own story, our own narrative.
Our own camera, our own lens.
100%. So, you know, he made me realize, and him and I actually made each other realize a lot of cool points, that there has been this like narrative happening about African Americans, about people of color. Okay. It's funny. I told him African Americans, he's like, just say black. I'm like, but you know, for me, it's not a problem, like to say, because Yehuda HaKohen says about not using color, white, black, and this and that. But anyway, so there has been this narrative written, like, you know, because he was saying how he went to Ghana and Africa and they have billionaires there. And he goes, you know, even growing up for him in Jamaica, he grew up with black judges and black this and black that, versus the story of the black Americans here. You know, they grew up very differently. And so there has been this narrative painted that, like, you know,
can I tell you something? There's a comedian, Godfrey. You know this guy, Godfrey. So he, I remember I used to go see him back in the day in Comedy Cellar, and he gets up there, and he's from Chicago, but he says, "Listen, I'm, you know, my father's Nigerian, my parents are Nigerian, so I kind of grew up, you know, my friends used to say, well, you're not regular black, right?" So then he goes to this, his father's a very kind of, you know, this like refined British educated or British style educated person from Nigeria. And he goes, and Godfrey said that he was trying to, you know, ask his dad for like money to go somewhere or whatever it is. And his dad is like, "Where are you going?" And then he's like, "You are going to get in trouble. And then you are going to, you know, they're going to take you to prison. And then who is going to pay for it? You're looking at him." You know, he's like, my dad was like, so, you know, strict. It's like all my black friends, like their parents didn't care where the hell they this kind of thing. You know?
Different upbringing. So that's what I'm saying.
Who's
very
going to
different
pay for
upbringing. So by the way, I'm watching because I did a watch party as we're doing this, and Pamela Batye Lisheva wrote, "Jews have their own story, but what about brown Jews? They get treated bad in communities all the time."
So can I tell you something? When you say brown Jews, you have to be nuanced, because first of all, if let's say you go to Israel, you have one group is Ethiopians, but then you also have like some of my friends who are converts converts from America, black people, either Caribbean or just African, you know, African American who became Gerim, and some of my friends, and they actually live in settlements.
Right.
And actually Black Lives Matter, which, you know, it's a whole other conversation. They're whole platformers against settlements and pro BDS, but they're also for the black Jews. And I'm just like, well, black Jews live in settlements. Like, please.
How do you unpack that? Right. It's a lot of conversation. You know, like I kept saying like Black Lives Matter, oh, you know, be with them, not be with them, until we were talking about this earlier. I feel like a lot of people, seriously, if like we would meditate, you know, take 10 minutes a day. I'm really serious. I'm being straight up, from everything from like being healthy, eating right, and all that stuff. I think we would all be, you know, a lot more focused and a lot more open to hearing each other versus whatever ideas we have in our heads, blah, 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 you know, and speaking at each other.
I hear.
So to answer your question, Pamela, what I think, if you're still listening, you know, look, you're gonna have people. She wrote Yemenite, Ethiopian. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So look, on the one hand, they have a uniqueness to them. They really do. I feel that way
Yeah.
because they come in and they shake things up. I feel like Hashem has a purpose for everybody, just like Balchuvas. Yeah. Like we're like these flaming Balchuvas.
Yeah.
We make people question the status quo. We do. We
Or
make them,
remember why they're doing what they're
or
doing.
yes, remember why they're doing what they're doing. And like how many times when I worked at Rage, how many times did families tell us that, oh, thank you for the experience when they
Yeah.
would like host families, because for them it was amazing to see the small things that that these Russian Jews who had no
They never
background and
had.
they're so
Yeah.
excited and like they're questioning and they're thirsty for it and they're like, so it goes both ways. But
Yeah.
anyway, so like I hear there are prejudices and racism, but I feel like it's very important for
Yeah.
everybody not to get indoctrinated in what the media wants,
I'll
the
tell you
narrative the
something
media wants us to have.
regarding, you mentioned Yemenite Jews. We have a good friend, you know him. His father of blessed memory was a lawyer, was one of the top lawyers. He's a Yemenite Jew in Israel. And his father came from Yemen when he was a kid, and he was a lawyer when he was alive. And he was one of the lawyers fighting against the government of Israel about the whole case with, when Ben Gurion and company cut the payot of the Yemenite Jews when they came to Israel, and they basically took them away from their families and gave them to Ashkenazi families in Israel. And only now, in the last 5 years, finally the government, like Bibi, is acknowledging this, and they're gonna open the case. And it's really all about money at the end of the day.
Right.
But
right.
It's crazy. Listen, people had to fight for this stuff, and people
Right.
think of Ben Gurion, and there's a head of a statue, a bust of Ben Gurion at the airport, but then people don't know this kind of little bit of sordid history part to Israel. Yeah, people were treated, or the Moroccan Jews who came and lived in tents for 2 years.
Look, there's been issues. I kind of don't want to go into well,
I'm
because
just
I
saying,
want to.
But Israel worked through their
Right.
things.
She also wrote, which I'm gonna just answer this last point, and then we'll go back to the Aliyah thing. She wrote, because this is something I actually just recently learned. She wrote, Rabbi Akiva's followers did not have respect, and I think we as Jews, it's a lesson to make sure we respect every Jew, 1,000%. But I found something very interesting about what I learned this Omer period, because we count the Omer, whatever, and Rabbi Akiva students were dying from like Pesach to the 33rd day.
Yeah.
I think maybe what I said, maybe it was Rabbi Kessin that I heard this from. So maybe it was him. The reason that they actually were dying, because how can such holy people, okay, so they were rude to each other, meaning like that's bad. I'm not saying it's good. They're disrespectful to each other, and that's rude. But that is not why they were dying. And a lot of people don't know this. The reason they were dying is because they did a huge Hillel Hashem, which is they desecrated God's name. And they did that. People looked at them and said, if this is what it means to be an observant Torah scholar, so by that action, they desecrated God's name, and that's why they actually were dying.
Oh, so Rabbi Kessin actually said that it was, that's the spiritual reason, but he had talked about the physical, what actually happened. The Gemara talks about they actually had something called askara, which is asphyxiation, and it's related to Lashon Hara. Wow. And he said that during the Corona period, we had started during going from Pesach into the Omer, and he goes, the whole key to this whole equation, if you look around the world, what's really going on? When we were like allowed to leave our homes and do whatever we wanted, and like even now, Lashon Hara is still rampant. You look at Twitter, you look at all these, all the slander that's being gone on in political sphere and public sphere. These celebrities, virtues, it's crazy. So the key, he said, the key to the whole equation to solving this Corona issue is, he goes, once we fix the Lashon Hara thing, then all of a sudden we're going to see the vaccine or whatever thing that's going to cure this whole thing. Or it might just go away. So
I don't know, but I don't know if vaccines is really the answer. That's a whole other topic. But but the thing is, Rabbi Kessin, for if anyone doesn't know who he is, Mendel Kessin, Google him. I think what's his thing? It's called Torah
Thinking.
Torah Thinking. He's incredible. I mean, he's really next level.
It's crazy. I was watching. I think you also watched it. There's a shear that he gave, like August 2016. Actually, there's a bunch of them talking about like the elections and talking about all the stuff that's supposed to happen. And he's not talking from perspective of like, he's not making prophecy. He's talking from Hashkafa, Jewish philosophy and Ramchal and Rabbi Moshe Hamuzato's ideas. And basically he like you look back 4 years ago when he gave this speech, the Shiurim, and you're just like, oh my God, like pretty much
it's like he prophesies, right?
It's like
he
on
said
point.
the thing. Right, he talks about also a very interesting shiur. He talks about the four messiahs and how Obama was like a failed messiah. We spoke about that. Guys, anyway, Rabbi Kessin, maybe you'll, I don't know if he's on Torah anytime, Pamela, but if you Google Rabbi Mendel Kessin, Kessin, you could post the link after, maybe Tzvi could post the link.
I will.
So, but let's go back to us having to leave to Israel, right? Because this is what we were like trying to unpack.
You're talking about the danger. Do you feel the danger? Why?
Well, right, that there was a danger. And I said, like, yes, being in the suburbs, again, you could be in Florida. Our good friend Hannah's in Florida. She's not feeling what, we're feeling. Again, this is more, I feel like this is more in like the liberal democratic states like California, obviously where this all started, in New York, You don't feel it more in the Republican-run states and also the suburbs, like our friend David Carmelli, who's in Utah. I mean, he said like there were like students protesting. That's about it. Like some students, like, and there was nothing crazy. There was no looting and whatnot. So a lot of more people started talking about Aliyah. Tzvi, what is for those people who don't know, what does Aliyah mean?
Aliyah means, really, it's funny because when you talk about, let's say you want to immigrate to any country on this planet, you say, well, I'm immigrating to Switzerland, or I'm moving to Spain, I'm moving to France, or wherever I'm moving. When you say you want to move to Israel, you say you want to make Aliyah. Aliyah means you want to elevate.
Right.
Which is elevate it's a very like profound thing, even for a person like people who are like not even religious. They come from, I don't know where, Russia or America, and they move to Israel and they made Aliyah. It's like they went to an elevated spiritual state, and it's actually true. You really, I'm telling you guys, I spent the last, I just made what's called Aliyah 2.0 in January, and I spent this whole Corona time, and actually our friend Nachliel was he came randomly. He messaged me. He grew up in Israel, and he messaged me. It was like 3 a.m. in Israel, and it was Motzei Shabbat for him. And he's like, "Hey, dude, this is going to be probably insane, but I'm getting on a plane on Sunday." And he literally was there on Monday, and he started his, his.
Right, Nachliel is a like prolific historian. He grew up in the old city. His dad is a famous, I think, philosopher or scholar.
Dad is an archaeologist. And his father, an archaeologist and a tour guide, and Nachliel himself, what's really cool. He normally, before this whole thing, he was doing museum tours at the Met, and obviously the Met's not open.
So he said there's nothing holding him.
Yeah, nothing holding. So what has he been doing?
Virtually.
He's actually doing Zoom, and what's cool is you can go on Google, I guess, Earth, into a museum. Awesome, any museum you want, and set up a whole, Egyptian thing and Roman thing.
Right.
Amazing.
Yeah, super cool. And it's very super cool.
So if you guys want to check it out,
you could post all those links. You could post all the. We could do we could charge for advertising.
Commission, right?
Right. So anyway, he's a cool dude.
So basically,
He made Aliyah. I said because he felt. Why did he come? I think that's a very important part.
He returned.
He came home. He returned. Right. He returned. But why? Because he felt like mission-wise, there was nothing really else for him.
He spent his time in America.
He
spent time in America, just like I spent kind of my time in America.
What's up, Bo? He said Esther is in the MF house. It's called MILF for you. No, I'm joking. I'm like calling myself a mother you'd like to friend. I'm joking.
Yes. Anyway, let's keep this
very kosher.
G-rated.
G-rated. So no, but I'm joking.
Anyway, I spent the last 4 months in Israel, and I really, it's like, even when you're just like hanging out in your house, you really feel like you're kind of just like on this. It's not just an elevated state, but it's an elevated understanding of the world and what's going on. especially like kind of from the outside looking into like America, for example, it's interesting to look on, so to speak, a dysfunctional family when you're sitting on the outside, and there's certain things you can see that other people can't. When you talk to people, let's say in America, and you tell them, well, this is how I'm seeing it from this vantage point now. Especially like you're sitting in Jerusalem and you're like, I don't know, for me, like I'm just downloading these like waves of Kedusha, or these like rays of Kedusha, right?
Kedusha is
And
holiness.
holiness, and like Das Torah, like just knowledge of, it's basically the idea is that like you gain knowledge of the world through knowledge of Torah, or even just sitting. They say, the Gemara actually says, what is it? The error of Israel makes one wise, right? So I'm not saying like the wisest person in the world. I'm just saying like you could really feel like when you're sitting in Israel, especially in Jerusalem, like that you gain something in terms
Well,
of yeah.
of course, you gain something because also a part of your soul is revealed. So,
Yeah.
but the thing is like what we're talking about, unfortunately, there's a very small percentage in the Jewish nation that will really vibe linguistically to what
Yeah.
we are saying with
Sure.
that same understanding. So to go back to like feeling safe, feeling not safe, this woke a lot of people up.
Yeah.
And we both have a teacher who we listen to, Chaim David Targun. And Targon, and he does these call-ins. He actually did a call-in last week for Rosh Chodesh, which is the new month, and he really unpacks things, and he talks about like what's happening in the world based on the new month, based on if you guys don't know, for Rosh Chodesh, we bless the moon, and it's the new month and whatever, and it's a different energy into the world. Everything for Yiddishkeit, for Judaism, there's a reason why holidays on Passover is in this month, and Rosh Hashanah is in another month, because it's a different energies coming down. And he talks about the climate of the world, of what's happening. And so he's been talking about that the gates to Israel are going to close, and that it's important to go. And I actually got a lot of heat from a group of moms or whatever. It was like a really good group of good women, beautiful neshamas. Like it just wasn't the place for me to talk about what I was talking about. But
you tried to run a truck through them, basically.
Yeah, I kind of like, this was actually during the Muncie stabbing, and I felt like that's it. Like I can't, like I gotta just speak my mind. And I kind of got kicked out of that group. Listen, because like I didn't go for hashgafically what I was saying. They're like, who is this person kind of infiltrating our group, even though like outwardly I look one way, but like what I was saying philosophically didn't jive, and maybe made some people nervous. Other people messaged me and said, I really respect what you said. And so basically, now this Chaim David on Zot Hanukkah, which was the last day of Hanukkah, which was Tzvi Hirsch's birthday. Yes, it was your birthday. I remember you were on that call also. Do you remember that he said that there is an undeniable decree, literally, mamash, undeniable decree that we are supposed to return to Eretz Israel? Like that we are, the galus is over, in the sense that the redemptive period has started, and it's only going to get crazier in a way, and crazier. And he said that there would be something coming down. He didn't know when. And lo and behold, literally 3-4 months later, right after Purim, before Pesach, we get COVID-19.
Can I read to you what I'm sorry, just finish that.
So I'm just saying, so he's been saying, come to Israel. And when I asked him a question, why, like, here you are, this very knowledgeable person, he's a mekubal, he doesn't make fanfare, that but he's a very special person. And you see this, I also see it, I vibe with it, a lot of other people see it. Why aren't the leaders of our communities speaking up? And he said something without, again, he's so careful not to make lashon hara. He's so careful not to hurt somebody, because we know by Judaism, when you embarrass somebody, it's akin to murder. It's like you murdered somebody, okay? So that's why lashon hara, and Rabbi Kessin said that it's so important to talk about each other in a constructive way, even joking. People joke, oh, you're always like this, or you're like that, or you're like this. Don't do that. That's not cool, okay? So anyway, he said, because today, and this is written in the Torah, before the redemptive full process unfolds, before the messianic time, we are living in a time where there's no real meaning. Like, we have communities that have rabbis and they're the leaders for that community, but there's no centralized system of leadership
Correct.
where we could all have a similar hashkafa and agree. Meaning these groups love each other.
Yeah.
You know, that
Yeah,
is true.
supposedly.
Like they do. No, they do.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this is the one beautiful thing about like the people who are of the Torah, the people of the book. No matter what, it doesn't come boil down to hate. They disagree on certain principles, but they, at the end of the day, when it comes to, let's say, ratting on each other or whatever, they are brothers in arms. They know that, and they stick together.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I can tell you this. Speaking of Hanukkah, there was the Hanukkah that I was in Israel 2 years ago on a business trip, and it just so happened that Rubashkin was let out of prison.
Right, that's right.
And I remember watching this kind of like on YouTube, and he's like in one place, then he goes to Muncie and Borough Park and this and this and this and this. One of my roommates, who's like originally from Flatbush, he's part of like, you know, quote unquote the yeshivish community, not the Chabad. He told me that he went to 770 to the Lubavitch World Headquarters, and there was he goes, I haven't seen anything like this since the Rebbe was alive, and he goes, if you think that it was just Lubavitchers, you're sadly mistaken. There were people, Litvak of the Litvak of the Litvak in the 770, cheering for Rubashkin, and he's like, I felt like Mashiach was going to come at any second.
That's like beautiful.
It was like a 1/60th, Balta Shishim of what Mashiach will feel like of this.
Right.
Crazy stuff.
Right, so, it's beautiful because people came together because it's also like a big miracle, right? When somebody's let out of prison, right? It's what's the bracha?
No, you say Hagomel.
Hagomel, right? So,
by the way, you want to hear another crazy story about speaking of Rubashkin? I did what's called Igros. I opened up the book, of letters. I was looking for some like advice, so as it were. And it says you have to learn this book called Shar HaBitachon, the gates of, I guess, trust in Hashem. Yeah. So what do I do? I didn't have the book, so I go to Google it on Google just to look for shiurim, look for lectures. And what do I find? Lectures from Rubashkin, because he's a rabbi, right? So he gives lectures on this book, like every single part of the book. And he talks about his experiences in prison and how he had to have bitachon every step of the way to keep Shabbat and keep a holiday and this and that. And some guy wanted to kill him because he's Mexican, and he heard that he was, that Rubashkin had Mexican workers.
Mexicans, It
was a whole thing, like this guy, and then the guy got moved to a different cell block, and Rubashkin's like, oh, I didn't get killed today, whatever. It was a whole thing. So it was just interesting to I
heard about that also, right? Yeah. Like, I think maybe you told me about it, but I remember the Mexican part. And then he became friends with a guy or something, or somebody protected him or whatever. He had like miracles. He had miracles
so
happening.
For like 8, whatever. He was there, 7 years, 8 years, something like that. Crazy.
Rubashkin was there more.
He served. No. He was sentenced to 27, which was like egregious. But he served 8, which was like I think a year over than what technically
what he should, right?
Something like that.
But, so anyway, right. Yeah. So anyway, so speaking, right? Because I mean, but it's good. We unpack a lot of stuff as we're talking. We try to be streamlined. We said we're going to talk about this, but things come up, so that's okay. That's good. People seem to like it in my live. I see like thumbs up and hearts and amen. So that's good. It's a good thing. So I think like ideologically, we were supposed to be moving in that direction either way in terms of making Aliyah ascent to go to Israel. But look, every time that I went to Israel, I never wanted to leave. I never wanted to go home. And, I would cry. And there would be almost like this mourning period. I'd come home and I'd be here and everything seemed like blah. Ooh, Ala Rachel's on.
What's going on?
And Christina Bronstein. Oh my gosh, I wonder if she's in Israel. I think they went back. I don't know. I have to reach out to her. But so.
I'll tell you something. When I was getting, how you walk in the airport in Ben Gurion, you walk down those giant ramps with all the, there's Jerusalem stone and stuff. So when I was walking to my flight to go to the States on this trip, I was literally, because there's nobody there. The airport looked like I Am Legend. There was no one there. Have you ever seen a movie with Will Smith? empty.
Right.
I'm walking there and there's nobody there, so I'm just doing like his bodhidus. I'm just like doing personal prayer, and I was just like, Hashem, please do not keep me in America for longer than what my ticket, my round trip ticket says. Please, I'm begging you. I don't want to. I'm just going on this trip, this little window of time. Please, I want to come. You see that other side over there of the other ramp? I want to go through that ramp in about a month. God, like I was like crying. My mom was crying.
No, I understand.
Whatever.
So, but the thing that happens when we get back to America, you know, the kedusha that you feel in Israel, where literally, I mean, I've spoken to people, and I'm not saying everyone feels this, but there are people who felt similar to myself, where a lot of the gashmiyas, the material stuff that we all, and it's okay to have material stuff, says no one says you can't have your material stuff, it's fine, but it kind of like wears off. It's almost like, it's like when our parents came to America, like that Soviet mentality, that because they were in it so long, the conditioning.
Anything. They didn't have anything.
No, but I'm just saying the conditioning.
Yeah.
It's where, like, what do you want? Listen, you're always indoctrinated with something.
Yeah.
What is it? Like, here's my glass. Like, what do I want to fill it with?
Yeah.
Do I want to fill it with, stuff for the chase for the material only, without like having the spiritual in it and having like a true real purpose? Like, why do I need this money? Because Haim David always says money is a bracha, it's energy, it's what you're going to do with it. So anyway, we all get sucked into the gashmiyas, I feel, in America, and it's very comfortable. You have your Amazon, before fine, Amazon's now in Israel. And I heard, by the way, people who were talking who made Aliyah 20, 30 years ago, that it was like literally going into almost like a third world country in the sense of services. Not like that you're around, like meaning like basic things, like to get your dishwasher fixed. Not every place had parts, and you had to wait weeks, and the customer service and this and this.
Now Israel has everything, my friends. I was there during the lockdown, and it's funny because my neighborhood where I live in Jerusalem, Abu Tor, it's very mixed. It's like there's some Frum Jews, there's some secular Israelis.
Right.
Then you go down kind of the hill. It's towards already the area with Arabs, but like kind of well-to-do Arabs. And then you have UN people. I saw UN trucks, so UN people live there, and EU representatives, like all kinds of diplomats.
Right.
And you see people are just like everybody's speaking English, and then like people are just like they have no problem to get like some guy needs some hardware part, or I don't know, something in the supermarket, some high end, I don't know. We have like wine, beer, whatever you want.
Israel is very
as long
different.
As you have money,
today.
You can get it, or some minimal amount of money. You don't have to.
Israel is very different today, but there's still some differences. And look, people like
there are.
But again, going back to us making Aliyah, I feel that now, even if it's the wrong reasons why people are leaving, it's better than not having the wake-up calls. I feel like this is just one wake-up call, and according to Haim David, he thinks the wake-up calls are just going to continue coming, and he always says leave like a mensch rather than a schlepper, right? He always says that. And he said that every time that Israel's gates close, which they still haven't really fully reopened, but they're going to close again, every time that Israel's gates close, we're going to have less and less.
You know what I was saying? You know what I was saying during the lockdown? I was sitting and we were they were announcing that non-citizens cannot come into Israel for the time being. And I immediately thought of the movie Bronx Tale, that scene. I don't know if you saw the movie, where these bikers come into the bar it's like in the Bronx, into this like mafia bar. Up. And so they're trying to like they do want to get a beer, but they're like rabble rousing, and then the guy's like, "You guys, come on, what's up with you guys?" "Oh, we just want a beer." They give him a beer, and then they start spraying the beer all over the bartender, and then Chaz Palminteri, the guy, he's like, "Okay,
closes
guys,
the doors."
No. First he's like, "You guys have to leave," and the guy's like, "No, go fly a kite," And then then he goes and closes the door. His friends come with baseball bats, and he goes, "Now you can't leave." And that's the first. And I just that scene, I thought of like, we told you to leave, and now you just can't leave. So now,
right. Well, I don't want to listen. I don't want to get this into like, you're not going to be able to leave.
No.
Who knows? We don't know. Right, but it could. Listen,
with humor, you know.
anything could happen because I've had actually, I have to say that I've had, it was my older son Benjamin's birthday on Tuesday. So I honestly, for that whole day, I was not on social media really, except when we did the live. Monday, what was Monday? Monday also, I was like doing a lot of driving. I was getting stuff for the birthday. So I really wasn't on the phone so much. And yesterday I was busy and today I was busy. Like I had really 4 busy days where I wasn't so much. I posted a few things, but I wasn't in it,
Yeah.
And I feel so relieved. I
Right.
feel so like zen. I also did an amazing meditation with Rabbi Daniel Katz today, and then Chaim David. I did like double dose of like, no,
Yeah.
really. I felt like, wow, life is amazing, life is beautiful, and I'm not gonna get like
It's like the movie.
sidetracked because it's very heavy.
Yeah.
Okay, it sucks you in, and yes, we need
Yeah.
to be informed, but who knows how things are going to shift.
Can I
I
read
pray.
something to you from because you
Oh, my
mentioned about
sister-in-law joined. Yay.
what's going on? Can I read something because you mentioned like Rabbi what's his name, Targon said things are going to get crazier, and I want to read something to you from Rabbi Pinchas Winston. You probably also heard of him. He also talks a lot about Geulah and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He's in Israel, and so he basically like speaking about what's happening now. And he basically said that, see, this is what he writes. He said, if you look at the big picture, there are so many prophetic implications. What is happening now? This is all part of a process described in the Kabbalah, in which before redemption, the Gevura, the judgment, needs to be sweetened, right? So the judgment is the source of the Hester Panim, the hidden face of Hashem, of hiding his face of kindness. For God to reveal a side of loving kindness through redemption, the judgment needs to be sweetened. Esav, which is like America, Europe, Western culture, is unsweetened judgment, and it's in Yitzhak, which is us, is sweetened judgment. So when a person does a mitzvah, because he's talking about the two sides of Gevura. When a person does a mitzvah or subdues the evil inclination, that sweetens the judgment. This makes the world a better place, closer to Mashiach. The problem is that there's a set amount of judgment the world has to process. It's like a system to sweeten before the redemption. It's like any project. As the due date approaches, the pressure to meet the deadline increases. As the final redemption approaches, the world is going to get crazier because there are a lot of judgments that need to be sweetened. It's like a guy doing a project at the end of, just before the last minute. And they are not. So harsh things that seem inexplicable to us are going to start happening. And then he says that the final burst of harsh judgments has always been experienced before any great good or redemption has taken place. He says the Holocaust and World War II were precisely this. We had to get Israel by 1948, that there were a lot of gevurot, judgments still need to be. It's hard to hear this kind of things, but this is from Kabbalistic perspective. We hadn't sweetened them through our merits, so all these gevurot, all these gevurot that were saved up for who knows how many years came into the world for a tikkun fixing in this giant, event called the Holocaust. So he says that Rabbi Winston noted this is one of the functions of the pre-Exodus plagues in Egypt, to use up the last bits of judgment before the redemption could take place. If the gevura is not fixed up, sweetened by us, then it will surely be fixed up through us. There is a schedule that was fixed by Hashem. We don't know what that schedule is. And when this happens, God uses each person according to what they are. God needs corrupt people to bring these judgments into the world, meaning like whoever. So let's say you want to say Soros or whoever it is. So we see a lot of corruption coming out today, much more than would normally happen if people were only expressing their own will and not fulfilling. So it's funny because see, it says a not fulfilling function, bringing out the judgment for the redemption. So it's like, I have a friend who called me and we were talking about his brother does, the hydroxychloroquine treatment for Corona. And he's telling me, dude, he's like, this whole thing has been politicized. And he's a frum Jew. He's like, it almost seems like people's eyes are blinded by some, the Sitra or some force. And they are just kind of like, they think they're doing the right thing. And actually, Rabbi Winston writes about this. He says, people can do evil and think they're doing good, doing best for mankind. It's true. They're serving a purpose for mankind by bringing judgments that will ultimately bring the final redemption. It's kind of like the purification. He says Hitler and the Nazi thought they were helping mankind, as did Stalin and Mao. The same is true of people who are reacting to the horrible murder of George Floyd. They think they're bringing justice, gevura into the world, and they are. But random violence is evil. If they really wanted to help mankind, they would sweeten these judgments by doing, mitzvot, or in their case, just following the 7 laws of Noah, by doing God's will and not through more violence.
Right, exactly.
So it's crazy, there's a whole kind of system that we have.
Right, but it's it's not a simple. But it's not even that, like, I don't want to minimize people's intellect. I just feel like we we also live in just like such a fast. Not everyone has the knowledge. I mean,
Yeah.
we've been pretty blessed. I feel very
Yeah.
blessed. So do you.
Yeah.
I see our friend Rebecca Salmon also joined. She
Yeah.
runs Rage now, and
She knows
she's
what's
also
up.
been blessed. She
She
knows
knows.
what's up. Look, there are things happening, and one of the reasons me and Svi wanted to, and again, we've unpacked this. Maybe we could do another live, because I feel like
Yeah.
when it gets too long, like
Yeah.
whatever, we're putting out the information there. I feel
All
that
good.
people should not be scared
Yeah.
to speak their mind, as long as it's constructive, and we need to really think about what else do we have left. I know it's a very scary concept to think about uprooting. She wrote, I do know what's up, right? She did the Illuminatis.
Oh my
It's so
gosh.
funny. I think it's very like, think about what our parents, those who are listening, who are Russian Jews, and the
Yeah.
parents came here and they were refused things. You literally are uprooting your entire home,
Yeah.
and you're
Again.
leaving
Second time.
again. Right? It's hard. You have kids, you have elderly
Yeah.
parents, you have this,
Yeah.
you have that. But Haim David said that no matter what, like,
Yeah.
this is happening, things are going to unveil. It's just in terms of how sweet will it be versus how harsh will it be. That's really up to us, humanity, Jews. I feel like it's like this. We're like in the nucleus, we're like in the center, and then it goes, whatever, the vibrationally, like,
Yeah.
we
The
give
eye
off
of
a
the
lot of,
eye of the storm, and then everything else around it.
and then everything else. So it
By the way, your
really,
friend Rabbi Glazerson, Matisyahu Glazerson,
yes, always
he
amazing.
famously always says that it's really up to us. If we do through tshuva, we get it through rachamim.
Exactly.
If we
Right.
don't do what we're supposed to do, then God forbid, we get like Iran and all this other wonderful things.
And all this other stuff happening, right? And all these people, like, we get like, my meditation made me realize today that, like, we all get so hung up on we get angry.
Yeah.
We get angry, and it's okay. It's a rightful thing. You watch something, and people who are very just, you get angry when you see injustice,
Yeah.
right?
Of course.
But I think what happens, that is the misconception of that we make, is that, okay, us being angry also is going to make it right. Just like you said, here are these people, the rioters, they have a right to be angry, right? But it doesn't give them the right to make more crime.
Yeah.
The same way when we see injustice, like, okay, so what do we do with it? Like, will it really heal the world? Will it help others if we're gonna, and I'm guilty of this myself. Sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't, like, this is that and this that. And today just like made me, today's like a very Zen day. Thank God, Baruch Hashem. And I'm thinking about all this, like, what can we contribute to our people? What can we say? And I guess our message is that, start thinking about the process of going back, even if you just visualize it, even if you won't pick up, and leave tomorrow, there's steps to it. One, the most basic step, I think, is start visualizing it.
Yeah.
Like, how would that make you feel living in Israel? Why would you want to leave to Israel? What are because there's really a lot of ideological reasons. I always think about this. Imagine if a million of us, and that's not even all, but a million of us right now, all were on the same wavelength, Riva said, pick your outfit for when Moshiach comes. Oh, I've been had that outfit.
Pick what?
Pick your outfit for
Outfit,
when Moshiach comes. But, like, imagine if we literally, like, legit, we're all on the same wavelength. Right now, there's, like, let's say 10 people watching. Well, imagine there's a million people. And we're all like, okay, fine. We agree. And we leave to Israel with the same hashkafa ideology that we are going, because this is our time to go. It is our mission to go.
It's like the movie.
It is our
the movie Avatar, where they all like prayed next to the tree.
Yes.
And they were
Yes.
like,
actually, I thought that was I thought somebody, like, that was like so, like,
there
I
was a lot
felt
of
like
articles
those were
written
the Jewish people.
about that Kabbalah and this.
Kabbalah, right? That's what I felt it was. Exactly. If we're like avatars and we go and we feel that we're going there, first of all, Israel needs a big cleanup job. Oh, mamash. Oh my gosh. Oh gosh. Irina Besser is ready. Come on, girl. I'm serious. I'm going to be messaging you. But imagine we literally go. That energy in itself,
Oh yeah.
there are a lot of insincere things happening in Israel because we
Yeah.
allow it to happen.
Yeah.
How many of us think about it? Here's like the one thing I could say that my hat goes off to these people. They are protesting and they're going, and it doesn't matter who incited them. It doesn't matter, okay? And it doesn't matter, if they were kept home and now they were riled up and now they're walking, they're still doing it. There is something inside of them, because you could rile somebody up for a day, no, maybe 2 days, okay, not for 2 weeks. Not the way, no justice, no peace,
Yeah.
And listen, no, seriously, it's right. If they don't have justice, there is no peace. Without justice, there is no shalom. How many of us are willing right now to go and protest that the Beis Hamikdash, it is not okay, that it is not in our hands? No, but I feel this way.
Can I tell you something? I
Tell me.
was looking and I was surprised to find this. I went on the I was making a different video. I was trying to cover the whole topic of people who came to Israel before the state was founded. So I looked at the Jewish Agency website, and they have a whole history of all these movements from of people that came to Israel. And what does it say on every single like instance of this group came and that group came and these guys, the students of this guy, it was always like so and so and so, brought by messianic fervor. It was written in English, messianic fervor to come to Israel. And then it's like the next one, 18 something, so and so felt the messianic fervor and he came to. This is all people that came before the state of Israel. It was all like religious, frum, Hasidic people that came from the 1800s, early 1900s. Then you had like Rav Kook, in the 20s and whatever it was, 30s, all before this Zionist, evil Rishoyim, as they call them, stuff. They're cutting the payas and all that. You had 70 years of this stuff, and people were coming just because of, they dreamt about.
They
this
believed it,
years.
Right. Something happened, right? Like, so something happened in our history, which, one of our other teachers, Yehuda HaKohen, Rav Yehuda HaKohen,
he's got all the stuff about it.
Right. He said something amazing. I learned this myself. I don't know how many of you guys know this, that until the 1700s, all of us, whether you were Ashkenazi or Sephardi, we were basically refugees from the Middle East.
Yeah.
That is who we were. And not until the Haskalah movement, the Jewish enlightenment, where people in Europe, where people like, and listen, again, I'm not judging them of why that happened. It happened. I guess people had enough of
Rav Kook
feeling
said
like
it was actually a necessary step to happen because we had to integrate
into
the Chokhmah of the world and the Chokhmah of Torah and different things, and it's a whole discussion.
Right. I heard that also. But what happened was that when they threw off their religious garb and their identity, they became, rather than being like, Ivri, Israelites, the Hebrews, the refugees from the Middle East, you became a German with the Jewish religion. You became a Frenchman with the Jewish religion. Whereas before, that is where this the separation occurred. And we still are suffering from that.
And Dreyfus quickly learned that he was reminded that he's not that.
Right.
And then Herzl realized, okay, from that we need our own land at the very least.
Right. Exactly. Right. He was, prolific and fighting for that.
Can you give me 1 second? Just 1 second.
Yeah. So I'm gonna read something to you guys while Tzvi. So here's something that this was for Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, not for Sivan. Yeah. It was for ER, and I keep referencing this Haftorah because I was mind blown how relevant it is. So we read the Torah, that's what we do every Shabbos, and then there's the Haftorah portion, which is usually from the prophets, right, and kings, from those books. So it says this. It says this chapter is the last one in the stirring book of Isaiah. It was chosen as the Haftorah for Shabbat Rosh Chodesh because of the verse which is repeated after the chapter. It speaks of the homage that will be paid to God on every Sabbath and Rosh Chodesh. The chapter gives hope and comfort to the Jewish people as Isaiah foresees the ultimate downfall of the nations that will do battle against one another and against Israel in the climatic war of Gog and Magog. Gog and Magog, I feel like it hasn't happened yet, right? In parts. It may be in parts. Some people say in parts, but it could be that we don't know what
the
could
Rebbe
be
said it happened already, supposedly.
other opinions.
Yeah.
Which
No,
was
he said
what did the Rebbe?
it was the Shoah, the Holocaust was Gog and Magog, or whatever. It's some
Maybe parts, whatever. But
yeah.
this is more the war of Gog and Magog is the war among the nations, right? Because World War II, the nations were fighting. Maybe it happened. Maybe it's going to happen. We don't know exactly. The war that will precede the final redemption. Okay.
Yeah.
And it says Isaiah speaks of the defeat of the nations and the universal recognition of the greatness of God and his people. But there are stern lessons for Israel as well.
Mhm.
The chapter begins by declaring that all the world is but God's throne and his footstool. Can anyone think that the Jewish people can build a temple that will encompass his glory? Surely the purpose of the temple is not to honor God, who is above any honor that we can render him, but to serve as our vehicle to elevate ourselves. People who, so let me stop right there before I finish. So that is such an important thing if we think about it. What we're not building it, just like, I've always heard rabbis in outreach and Kiruv say, like, Hashem doesn't need our prayers, actually.
Yeah.
We need to pray to elevate ourselves. Hashem does not need our prayers. So does Hashem really need us to build a house? Like God needs to come down. Ooh, I'm gonna live with you guys. Like what's going on here?
It's for us.
It's for us. When we can build the Beis Hamikdash, it means that we have elevated ourselves. We have worked on ourselves. We have literally built first the inner Mishkan, I would say. So, and it ends like this. People who seek to appease God with insincere, meaningless service are considered like those who kill and maim people, and who offer unclean animals and contaminated blood upon his altar, and they do so consciously. Having chosen this form of blasphemous service, God will respond in kind in punishing those who ill serve him, but that will not be the end. Those who are loyal to God will be acknowledged and rewarded in a miraculous manner. The rebirth of Israel will be as astounding as that of a nation born in a single day, without even labor pains. If God decides to give new life to his people, cannot be otherwise. Thus, all who have been loyal to Jerusalem, mourned her, will rejoice with her, and blessings will flow to them in torrents, but their enemies will suffer ignominious defeat as God pours out his wrath upon them. Okay, and it basically says the survivors will come, and then we will all come and rebuild. Oh, so this is interesting. The survivors will bring word of his greatness to the furthest corners of the world, and in the process they will bring back the straggling Jews who seem to have been irretrievably lost in the long hard exile. Then all will come to rebuild the temple, the eternal temple, to prostrate themselves in devout and loyal service to God, and history will have reached its goal, and those who are loyal to God will be vindicated. So I thought about this. I don't like when you think, straggling Jews, just because you do Torah and mitzvahs doesn't mean you don't fit into that category.
Yeah.
Right? Meaning, like, it doesn't mean those so far gone that they don't know they're Jewish, or those so far gone. Yeah. I'm like, so I thought about it, like, okay, all the stuff is happening. Do we want to come as Menches, or do we want to come as schleppers? Do we want to be straggling Jews?
You ain't gotta tell me twice.
So I think we've been going on for we said we're gonna be on like for half hour. It's like an hour. It's an hour and 20 minutes. No, it is all good.
Yeah.
It is all good. But I guess my final words, is that we, like what I was saying. So for those of you who can't fathom right now to even fill out paperwork, start visualizing. I think it's important, and we're starting to see rabbis, really acknowledge.
We were talking about this today. There's a rabbi, I'm not gonna say his name. He at least I had my what's called tainas about the way that he expressed himself, but at least he said, I think it's time for us to go. There's nothing for us here. And this is a person who runs, institutions and successful institutions, help a lot of people, including myself.
He's also an entrepreneur, by the way.
He's an entrepreneur.
He's also very successful.
He got over his own. He had his own stuff like years and years and years ago, whatever it is. And he says it's time to go. He's trying to figure out his own situation for how to make that happen, family and this and that. But if a person like that is saying things,
Right.
and then
And
you
he's one of the few. And I think we're going to
yeah
start seeing more and more. And
yeah because
Rabbi Kanievsky, one of the
Kanyevsky has been saying
Gidol
it for
alums,
years. Yeah,
for years he's been saying, and he's
yeah,
only one of the few very brave
yeah,
because listen, we don't know. Today I learned also a very important concept when I was doing
yeah,
this meditation with Rabbi Daniel Katz. Anybody who wants to get into deep meditation, look up
yeah,
Elevation Seminar. I mean, he's
yeah,
really, really, really the real deal.
yeah,
And he said, anyone that can think, the problem with the human race, we always think we know, right?
yeah.
We always think we know.
Other people's issues, other
Other
people's
people's,
stuff,
right.
whatever. Yeah.
But we really don't. Even if
I have no
something
idea.
is very similar to what you experience, you could relate on your level.
Yeah,
But like details and things, and then people
yeah.
start like to give opinions. It's one thing your opinion is asked, and someone's like, "Oh, what do you think I should do since you went through this, or you didn't go through this? But what do you think I should do?" Versus
The the
and
only
it's
people who could really kind of see stuff, and not maybe really, but more so, is there's certain people in our nation, we call them Mikubalim Kabbalists. You go to them
mekubalim,
and
right?
they look at you and they're like, okay, this is what's going on with your family. This is what's going on with you. This is why you do this. This is why you
Right,
do that.
but
Do like this.
right,
Do this. But besides those guys, no, you can't just
right.
judge a
But
person.
that's a very small
Small
group, and
segment
even
of the
them.
planet.
Right. The point is that I'm saying is that
Yeah,
we don't know what's going on, and all the
yeah,
stuff that we think we understand in the media, and it's deep state. No, it's the
yeah. We don't know.
liberals. No, it's the communists. No, it's this
Yeah,
person. It's that person. Look, at the end of the day,
yeah,
there is a reason why everything comes from God.
yeah,
God is allowing this process to happen.
yeah.
At the end of
Obviously,
the day, if
for
if
the
he if this was
for
like
the reasons
not
I just
good,
outlined. Yeah.
right, and if this was not good, this whatever, like
Hmm.
yes, there's bad stuff within it, but it's also a process of waking us up.
Yeah, of course.
So so I would say visualize leaving to Israel. And if you can look, if it doesn't speak to you, like I'm not here to convince anybody. Like, you have to feel that you're connected and you're part of the
Yeah,
klal, and there's like a bigger mission. Like our friend Yehuda Hakohen always says, we are characters in our own, like, every person is a world in itself, and we are characters in our own movies. And how do we come together to make that blockbuster hit? How do we as the
yeah,
klal come together?
yeah,
But maybe make steps like go to nefesh benefesh, get your
yeah,
documents in order. This way at least that you're ready. We don't know what will be. And when I plug into the news, it's very scary. I, like, 2 weeks ago, I literally had a lot of anxiety, like, seriously,
yeah.
like, mamash. I took CBD to calm down. I drank ramashka chamomile tea. I was like walking around, right? CBD, is that what I gave you?
Yes.
Okay,
This is,
cool.
ladies and gentlemen, this is not illegal. This is CBD.
No,
This
no,
is
yeah,
not.
but forget that. You should see our brand, the
Oh, okay.
elixir. Anyone get 20? I should do a 20% off. I'm joking. I really should.
Ladies and gentlemen, the
20%.
summer's coming up. Since we're selling things, we have a very nice rosé from Israel, from Amos Winery in Tekoa. I can tell you where it's available if you're in the city. If you can get to 67 Wine and Spirits across from Lincoln Center, it's still available there. Also, the White Mont Blanc white blend, which apparently is one of the most interesting whites, whatever, from Israel, tasted by some guy who reviewed for Recanati, whatever. Anyway, if you guys are interested, hit me up.
Yeah, or
We're
me
selling
if you
things.
want CBD, since we're
Yes,
selling things, right?
CBD
Wine
and
is
wine.
CBD.
Yes.
Hey, it's not a bad thing.
I just was
But
talking to the marketing director of one of these wineries in Israel, and I was trying to explain to him why, he needs to. We wanted to do marketing for him, so he goes, nobody's buying anything from stores right now. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I told him that my partner's store, the sales went up 60%. That's just one of many stores during the
it's
Corona thing.
liquor.
Yeah, liquor
Stores
stores.
went up.
So he goes, that's fake news, because he's thinking of perspective of why, because his winery is a very big winery. What do they do? They give, when there's weddings, there's Pesach programs, everything got canceled. So in his mind,
Right.
it's all those things got
Right.
canceled. Where are the sales coming from?
Right.
So I'm explaining to
listen.
him how. So listen. So I go to him. Everybody's doing Netflix and you know what, and they're sitting at home and
God.
Netflix, and they're even the young Jewish kids who are like into kosher wine, they're sitting home and they're just like, unfortunately not the CBD but the other stuff, unfortunately, and drinking wine, and the sales went up. There's nothing else to do.
Right. Irina Besser asked, you should message her later. Sounds yum. We're on the Upper West Side. But to wrap this up, Irina Besser. So anyway, but to wrap this up, like, both Tzvi and I are of the conviction amongst our circles that this is one of the, by the way, this is one of the gentler wake up calls. What's
Oh
been
yeah, big
happening,
time,
as
big time.
scary as it seems,
Yeah.
I think this is one of the gentler wake up calls. And yeah, anyone who has questions, you could message me or Tzvi. I actually have a WhatsApp group. I mean, whatever, it's for our private, whatever, friends, but like, I know also Devorah Sisso, who we're both friends
Yes.
with. She's
Yes.
doing Israel advocacy, and she's
Yes.
going to be sharing, and somehow I'm going to help her also,
Cool.
whatever,
I just
to
had a
figure
meeting
that
with her
out.
before I left about
I
whatever
know.
helping her with her stuff.
Right. Yes. 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 And so she's gonna, she also made a statement. Like, she compared all the stuff, and I mean, I've heard people say like it's a crystal knock,
Yeah.
right? Like the bashing of the stores and this and that.
Can I
And
say something?
there's a
If people are saying that this is crystal, like for the people who are comparing this to crystal knocked, then like
well, I think those are the people
he,
that are leaving.
I know, but
Those are the
that's what I'm saying.
people.
There was a rabbi who said that, and he's not leaving. I don't say his name.
Dude, it
So that's
doesn't
what,
matter,
yeah, yeah,
right?
no, I know. I'm just saying, like, if you're gonna say it's crystal knock, then pick up your stuff today and get the heck out. But it's
Right,
not.
right.
It's not
She is
crystal knock.
fantastic. Right.
Yeah.
Irina Besser said
Yes.
Devorah is fantastic. Again, it's not
Yeah.
so easy. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe it was easier for you because
Yeah. No, I'm a
you're a
single guy.
single
Whatever.
guy and whatever. It's much easier,
And even
when you
so, it
have,
wasn't that easy
it
because
wasn't
I have
that
a
easy because you have
business.
your parents, you have a
Yeah,
business, you had
business. Yeah.
other obligations and things. It's not that easy, but it's something, I think it's a conversation that we need to have and have
Yeah.
in depth, and we need to support and help each other figure it out and hear perspective.
So here, I want to end on a funny note. So now my
Okay.
question is, how do I get my friend, the Yemenite friend who escaped his town in Israel, who has traumatic experience in Israel, how do we get him to get on the mentality of like, hey, dude, we're about to go home, but he's just like hell bent on just, this is the
How
American
is this a
ideal,
funny note?
huh?
How is this funny?
So how
We
do we
know
get
it's
a
funny
person?
because
How do we
we
get a person
know
like that?
him.
How do we
No
get a
one
person?
else.
Huh?
No one else. This is funny. We were all expecting. I'm thinking you're gonna do like an act or something.
No,
I'm
I
thinking
could
you're
do an
gonna do
act,
one of
but
your multi characters.
oh
You're gonna
no, no,
maybe do
no,
a Jose
no, no, no,
or
no, no. There's no.
Baba Fira. Like
Listen,
some.
listen to me, listen to me, man. If you don't get on the plane, man, I gotta send
That's
Hispanic
a
life.
funny note.
I'm gonna send Hispanic Lives Matter after you, man, and this is even worse than Black Lives Matter, man,
See, our
because we
numbers are
just don't
going up.
care.
Keep going.
Did you know what Hispanic Lives Matter is? There was. Oh, I'm gonna tell you the poem that I wrote for Bo Strasberg, man. There once. Here, let me read you the poem. Oh, give me a second, man. I wrote a poem about the Pinochet guy in Chile, about how he treated communists, man.
Oh,
You don't know.
really?
Yes, there once
No.
one was I call it, there once was a man named Augusto.
Right.
Here you go. There once was a man named Augusto. At one point, he got very disgusted with people who wanted communism adopted, so he hung them all from helicopters. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't go to Israel, man, I gotta take you in a helicopter and just, you know what I'm saying? You watch Starspace. The guy he had the binoculars. He said, saw the guy hanging from the thing over there. It's gonna be a problem for you, man. Okay, that's all I got for you guys. Sorry.
Okay, good. Now
Yeah.
that's a funny note. The other stuff we could discuss privately. That's a funny note. You gotta, give people what you promised.
Give the people
Anyway,
what they
for
want.
those of you, I can't believe there's still some people watching. Thank you. That's so nice. And I'm watching because there's a delayed reaction, and you're
That's
funny.
right.
To me, it's funny, ladies and gentlemen. Anyone who has nice girls, by the way, that want to move to Israel, I'm gonna make like a little shidduch announcement. I mean, seriously,
Yes.
our families
My
know each other for 50 plus years, and I
shidduch
could like
resume says, "Are
vouch.
you not entertained?"
Yes. Whoever, will be very lucky. So if anyone knows nice girls, under 20, no, I'm joking.
Oh my
Like
God.
whatever, doesn't matter. I'm joking. No, I'm joking. No, whatever, normal. We just want
Shomer
normal.
Shabbat.
Yes.
Israel is not negotiable.
Yes, Israel's non-negotiable.
It's a
Send his
very,
way, okay?
yes.
Because he's not going to be on the market for too long. So get him while it's hot.
Whatever this
you
market
know?
is, wherever
Right.
it exists.
Aw, Irina said she loves our passion. We love you too.
Fantastic.
Okay, guys, have a good night. We're
All right,
finally
guys. It's been
logging
real.
off.
All right.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
And
shalom.
we'll do a part 2, right? Next week. We'll
Yes.
unpack it as we
Zat
see.
Hashem.
Maybe we could get Yehuda HaKohen to come
Maybe.
on a live
Maybe.
with us.
Maybe.
That would be fantastic because I feel like he will really be able to speak. This guy, you guys are going to be in for such a treat. He's like fantastic.
Yep.
Seriously. Okay, cool. All right. Good night, everyone. Shabbat shalom. Okay. Laila Tov.